tricky thing about food. Your sister's food makes me feel at home, even though it's foreign food.
Yeah.
That's why I go back and would go back and go back and go back, because of the way she makes me feel, and eating her food makes me feel. That's what return customers are.
You're just fascinated by things they've been using for almost a year and a half now.
Well, you know, the ironic thing is that, so I was one of the few people that knew to hold your phone this way to make video, you know, so it's television ready and stuff. I just didn't think it applied to YouTube, even though I shot, what, 1,000 YouTube videos?
Do you know, I was looking at your like 2,000 cooking videos. You've done it correctly in that.
Yes. I've done it the right way on all of those, but not with you on this. Yeah, that would be the way we roll. How you doing, man? Did you really send me a note about Red Lobster?
Yes, I did send you a note about Red Lobster filing for bankruptcy.
Okay, so
the thing was that we started the show last time where we said that, like, if people don't know how to explain their ideas, they're like, those people didn't get me. And you said, this is what you hear in bankruptcy court all the time.
Right. So some way or another, as of right now, Red Lobster bankruptcy is an anti-Joe Biden meme, as if Joe Biden took Red Lobster down and COVID didn't happen and seafood prices aren't through the roof. And okay, so if I have a string of restaurants, much like if you write code and develop an app that somebody wants to buy from you, they buy it from you, right?
Yeah.
You sell it. We're in the market of sales. Somebody wants to buy my restaurant today. If they really wanted to shut me up, they would just buy me out. And it'd be so much cheaper than all this other stuff. So Red Lobster gets bought out, but not by people. They get bought out by basically a group of finance folks. Now, finance folks, after they overpay for your restaurants, have to find a way to get their money back, right?
Yeah.
So they want restaurants that own their own property and have owned it for quite some time, because more than likely haven't valued it recently. So they sell off all the Red Lobster properties and then rent the stores back to the owners who just rent the stores. But then they jack prices up because they've had to pay this exorbitant amount for purchase, and then they got their money back from the sale. Does that make sense? So you buy this, it includes the house. You sell the house, some other person who, well, or you sell it to yourself. That's where it really gets weird. And then rent it back to the owners. The owners couldn't afford it, which is not necessarily true, but during COVID, they couldn't afford it. This is not Red Lobster's first go at bankruptcy. Here's a bigger issue. Here's a bigger issue in the religious war known as America right now, where Joel Osteen Christians and then the Pope Christians that used to just all be called Catholics, but now they've got their own sect. Red Lobster sells a thing called shellfish. Now, if you want to Google shellfish in the Bible, you will find out you're not supposed to eat shellfish. So if the same people preaching about Red Lobster closing followed the Bible, it would have closed 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So where are we supposed to go with this thing? It is so hypocritical. So Joe Biden is Sleepy Joe, right? That's his nickname. But yet he can do all this stuff. Does he do it in his sleep? I mean, let's be honest. The guy can't walk normal. He's an octogenarian, for real. And I'm not making fun of him. Of the two guys, he's the better person.
Yeah.
That does not matter in politics anymore.
So the weird part was most of the news articles about Red Lobster were talking about how the endless shrimps for $20 was the business model that completely screwed them over. And in that report, Sean, there is this one section where it says a guy sat down in Red Lobster for 4 hours and ate like 30 portions of fried shrimp.
Yeah.
I was just thinking not about the company, but about that guy watching the news and hearing this and going like, hey, that was me.
That was me.
Let me, fuckers. I was eating shrimp.
So the challenge for everybody in the restaurant business is it, and you've heard me say this to you specifically, hey, it's great to sit on the other side of the bar.
Yeah.
You know everything that's right or wrong and everything else. And the person on this side over here has tried and is still trying to fix all of those same problems with a group of people that really don't want to help you fix it. They're just there for it. Sometimes they're just there for an hourly wage. Now, we're lucky. 90% of the people that work here actually want to work here. I still have 10% that just don't give a flying shit what happens to me financially or anybody else. They want to get in as many hours they can, as much money, and they only want to do enough work to not get fired.
Yeah. Can I tell you, like, even when we hire people, I've noticed that where some of them are there just for like the paycheck. They really don't know what we're building and doing. And it's really hilarious to see them because they'll punch in on time and punch out like it's a 9-to-5 job. And I'm like, guys, do you know what industry we're in? It's a 24-hour thing.
Per day, every day. So the question is I'm an aging out restaurateur. Like, I'm 61. And the internet has made restaurants unbearable to own, literally unbearable for most people. Now, I don't mind because I've been reviewed in shows, and I mean, everything I've done in life has professional reviewers. Now, it was easier when they were professionals, but I also like the fact that the average person gets their say. Like, is this worth me going back to? You know, I mean, did I really need sea foam on top of my black bass? I mean, you know, what is sea foam? That's when it needs to be a profession. Average people probably should stay away from those kind of reviews. But this week I had a little controversy, as you may have noticed, with a lady that came in who I did not know. And evidently my wife supposedly used to know when she came in. And she would get a small piece of salmon, which doesn't mean anything to anybody. When you go, I usually come in and I got a small piece of salmon and $10. Right? Yeah, if you say that up front, perhaps somebody can come to me and go, hey, you know anything about this lady that gets the salmon for $10? And I'd go, nobody gets salmon for $10 unless it's spoiled. I mean, why would you want low budget salmon? Honestly, don't eat low budget seafood. It's dangerous. None of that happens. She says that when she gets her check, she ordered a side of salmon, which is a big, huge by American standards. I mean, when you say that it's a large piece by American standards, it's freaking huge. 8 ounces of salmon.
Your salmon, I've had it like for dinner once, and then the next lunch. That's how much that serving is.
You and I would make a salad or a sandwich out of it the next day. But she goes on this terror about it, and I go, yeah, I'm not budging. That's how much it cost me. Like, literally, it cost me $10.
Yeah.
And but she felt so privileged and so self-righteous that she goes out and literally, she doesn't write a review. She's confused at what a review is. But she wrote a complaint. And you know me and complaints, where do they go? Straight to the bathroom. So I reposted it with a simple text of what things cost. And Red Lobster should have done the same thing. Hey, all you can eat shrimp's a great idea until somebody eats $70 worth of shrimp and we're only charging you $10. We can't survive. And then don't be surprised if we don't make it. So I don't know, hundreds of people yelled at the lady, and they didn't yell at her. They yelled at her. And you know, her friends were making threats and all this other stuff. All I was open was a Friday night serving dinner to 100 people on one side of the restaurant, 150 on the other side of the restaurant, minding my own effing business. And Mrs. Outrage starts all this stuff. And you just go, look, none of her friends are customers of ours. None of them even knew where the hell we were.
Yeah.
They knew that little. So the Outrage campaign failed miserably. But you just go, it's too much stress, man. I can make more money doing other shit. I mean, I just don't need this. And that's why I don't own gourmet restaurants anymore. It's just not fun. Red Lobster was not gourmet. You know what Red Lobster had that nobody else had? Really good cheddar biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what makes cheddar biscuits really good?
What?
It's in the title. It's in the title.
Cheddar.
So if you get a biscuit that ordinarily costs 10 cents, due to the amount of cheddar in your cheddar biscuit, You eat a basket full of those things, they're down $3 to you, just to you. And nobody wants to, well, that's not my problem. And you go, well, it is when you're bitching they closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if Joe Biden did it, Joe Biden was not in there eating all the goddamn cheddar biscuits. It wasn't happening. But so, I mean, which way does anybody want to go with this? We eventually have to look at businesses and go, do they matter anymore?
Yeah.
Did they serve their purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Blockbuster Video was great when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose now when I have this crazy ass phone that I can watch movies on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Blockbuster Videos, and they didn't change their business model. And you know from business school, I know from business school, change or die.
Yeah.
If you don't change, die. Like, okay, my restaurants are so antiquated. We use paper tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I have not changed yet, and I have not died yet. But sooner or later, that's what's going to get me, because if you built me a computer system, it would tell me how much of everything I sold each night, what I need to order the next day. And instead, I have to have a human being go, hey, get some salmon. Hey, get this. Hey, get that.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you guys are the future of it. But do they love service and do they love food, or is everything analytics?
Mm.
Is the death of Red Lobster actually analytics and regular old fashioned? Here's the tricky thing about food. Your sister's food makes me feel at home, even though it's foreign food.
Yeah.
That's why I go back and would go back and go back and go back, because of the way she makes me feel, and eating her food makes me feel. That's what return customers are. Mm-hmm. Return customers aren't a deal where you go, well, if you give them something for $10 this time, you do this and you. People come back to places that make them feel homey, whole. You know, that's the skill of a restaurateur. Is when you walk in the door, they need to know you, know something about you. Even you, who I would give shit to all the time. But everybody knew you and knew you were a friend of mine. If you just, I mean, you know, from Bangalore, I mean, there's just too many people there to be that well known, you know, to be a whale. And you can go place to place, but how do you feel when you're in the place? Do you feel like an imposter? Does the place feel like an imposter? Do they actually care about their food?
Yeah.
I mean, do you just care, or do you get 5 people back there that as soon as it gets slow, somebody's getting cut and it's just this churn? Mm-hmm. I mean, but at the same time, there are restaurants in this town up off of Memorial Road that do more business in a Friday night than we do in a month.
Yeah.
Dollar-wise. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why people open them, because it works. And they have figured out the way to get enough people in, get enough people out and churn it and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm not in that field. And Red Lobster could not keep up with all of those places. It isn't that they can't keep up with me. They left what we do a long time ago. Mm-hmm. If you seat 300 people, you're competing with people who have 300 seats. Yeah. And they just didn't, you know why? Because whoever's running it is a finance guy, not a restaurant person.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It takes the heart out of owning a restaurant the moment the finance guys and the VCs show up and take over.
Oh, God, the VC. Tell people what VC is, venture capital.
Venture capital idiots who show up. These are more, I think, vulture capital, because they are not coming in to build it out and then get it valuated. They're coming in to basically strip it for parts and see how much they can make on the books when they sell it. Mm-hmm.
And they're not interested in hospitality, which is what I've done for a living my entire life. And I've been pretty successful at it. It's been a nice run. Yeah. I don't care if those guys do that or not. I mean, should it really cost $8 million to own a restaurant? No. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you're not in the restaurant business if you spent $8 million. You're chasing something else.
Yeah.
Usually girls.
But I also knew like these certain models where, because of my finance weirdness, that
you VC guy, what were you gonna say?
No, there are times where businesses are built not because of the franchisability, but because of the underlying asset, which is what you told. The land value is what people are buying at that point.
McDonald's is not in the food business; they're in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. The
Yep.
buildings just happen to sell food. They have done excellent in the real estate business. Now, okay. Do I eat there? No. Do a whole bunch of other people? Yeah. I don't judge them for it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy food, but I don't expect everybody else to enjoy it the way I do.
Yeah,
Kind of
that's
like church.
Sean, that's that
Kind
famous
of like church.
that famous joke, right? If someone tells you this dish is to die for, in Fraser Crane, the father basically tells Fraser, your country and your family, those are things to die for. Food is to
Right.
eat.
Right. Right. That is a valid point. Outside of this being a political thing, outrage media has got to come up with some new stuff every day and see what sticks. And we eventually have to realize that there's an opposite to that. So when you go, Red Lobsters are all closed, must be Joe Biden, and you go, oh no, the other guy is into the venture capital people. That's his people. And some way or another, they have been better at turning this narrative. Look, I don't know how this election ends up. You know, it does it suck to be in America and we don't know?
Yeah.
How bad does that suck? But once the commercials again of the storming of January 6th and all that stuff start running is when everybody goes, oh, maybe we don't want this shit again. I'll take the old guy that looks like he needs a hip. I mean,
yeah.
Rather than the old guy that sleeps in court and farts all day. I mean, holy crap, this is where we're at, you know?
You mean as a planet? Because that's more of what I'm looking at.
Well, here's the thing.
There's this beautiful picture which I saw of the entire Milky Way and a small dot with an arrow pointing to it saying that is where you are standing worrying about your taxes.
Right. I think one thing that I would throw on top of all of this is we've been so spoiled here. We think that we're immune to a civil war. We think we're immune to an outside entity doing violence to us. We think we're immune to that. And the rest of the world does not think they're immune to it.
Yeah.
It's still a fresh experience. You know, you look up at your Muslim area and you guys got issues over there. You know, I mean, and I don't want to go into them so we get knocked off YouTube, but people can Google it and find out. But over here, we keep thinking we're better than that. And I don't know why we think we're better than that. We all came from countries that did that. Everyone here came from countries that had some form of political violence, political setups, whatever you want to call it. And for some reason, we think we're better here. And we're not. And we're learning that we're not. But on a good note, let me give you a good note. Okay. How much time we got? I know I talked a lot.
At 18. We're good.
Okay. So Oklahoma County and Oklahoma City, where I live, you all have heard me talk about the Oklahoma County Jail, which was the deadliest jail in America for years and years and years. And they ran a scam to build a new jail. And magically, as one tax was ending, it's sunsetting, it means it's over. Magically, building the new jail was going to cost the exact same amount as that tax brought in. And all these suckers voted for it. And they were suckers. They got conned. It's $500 million short, and they're trying to find a place to put it. Now, if you're a mayor of a city, do you want the worst jail in America in your city?
You technically don't.
Right. Nobody wants it, not because it's a jail, but because it's the worst jail in America. And the management really hasn't changed. A few of the people have changed. Like they moved the seats around. So Oklahoma City finally grew a pair yesterday and voted to not give them a permit to build within the city limits near another city called Del City. And now they're all mad. And they're like, well, we're going to make you do this. We're going to make you. I'm like, go ahead and try, my friend. Go ahead and try to force it. They don't have any money. They're $500 million short. So guess who they're going to have to bring in? Speaking of VC people.
Oh.
They're going to have to bring in venture capital to be able to build it because they didn't get enough tax money.
So
I mean, it is.
At that point, does that become a for-profit prison? Because the VC is going to want a return on investment for.
It becomes a private prison then. Right. It becomes a private prison at that point. And there's not really anything any of us can do about it. I was shocked to see the city council do the right thing. I mean, honestly, I won't lie. But you know, maybe this is the turning point. You know, we have to eventually figure out we can't just give the rich guy stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they don't get anything. You know, if they're part of a good deal, yes, we're in, but we don't have to give them everything. They're going to leave whenever they want to leave anyhow. Because you know what? Because they have a jet and they have other houses. They can leave any day. It's naive to think that kissing their ass is going to make them stick around. It's just not true.
Yeah, they're going to go to wherever they're going to benefit from the most. Who gives you the best tax write-off? If another state just calls these guys and tells them, hey, come here, you get this much of a rate. Isn't that like one of the largest tax write-offs ever given in history was by New York City to Donald Trump to convert Manhattan into affordable housing for middle-class people? But he used that tax and he built his hotel. This was in the 70s or 80s. So yeah.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with anything that guy does. But you know what people would say? His defenders would say, well, you know, he used the tax policy in the right way for everything he needs. And you're like, okay, Accountant Joe, help me out here. But that's okay because it was Trump. I don't. Hey man, you know, inexplicably strong men get reelected in a lot of places. Inexplicably. Oh, yeah. Whether it's fraud or whether it's reality. We're not new. We're just new to it. We're new to the game. It takes us a while to catch up. So, I mean, that's all I wanted to cover today was the Thunder thing. And look, Kansas City, Missouri, my hometown, the Chiefs and the Royals, the two professional teams there. The Chiefs you may be familiar with. They've won 3 Super Bowls. The Royals won a World Series. They all wanted a new stadium, and our stadium up there is absolutely beautiful. And the people voted them down. Like, yeah, leave if you want to leave. That is how you do it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be here, leave. We get somebody else that'll take the place, which is really not true. But you can't have somebody own your city just because they own a team where 40 people throw around a ball.
Yeah, but can I tell you something? It's impossible to explain that to sports nuts who are so fanatically passionate about the team. Yeah.
Yeah, but they want me to pay for their shit.
That's like me.
Yet they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay for kids' lunches.
See, that's like me telling people that, like people I work with and investors that, hey, you guys need to start funding my aquariums because I like doing that. Yeah. That's the same fucking logic, isn't it? If you want me to pay for your basketball team.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that is where we are at, my friend. Other than that, things are pretty good. It went from like we were 94 degrees yesterday and it's cold outside right now. Yeah. So nothing going wrong with that. Yeah.
This is going to have, like, YouTube's going to put 3 notices on this video. One that we spoke about the US elections, one we spoke about global warming, one we spoke about Sean, we are just destined to fuck this up. Don't worry.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, man. I can't help myself.
No.
And the air is dirty, by the way. Let me go ahead and say that. Listen to my lungs. That's dirty air right there. Yeah, nice. We got that going for us. So anyway, Red Lobster, Joe Biden's ruined Red Lobster.
That is funny to me. But speaking about
Leviticus, brother, Leviticus.
The last thing, the other day I posted some video on some aquarium account and just asked somebody, can y'all tell me the name of this fish? Okay.
Yeah.
They were like, few people who thought it was like an alligator gar, which I'm sure it was. It was tiny as fuck and not a giant monster in my time. Right. And finally, one of my friends who I know from like 10, 15 years ago replies and says that, hey, it's called a half beak. And he was right, because I looked it up. First reply to that, some guy said, no, fuck you. And this old friend of mine doesn't understand or is not on those good, like on the internet that much is my guess, but he tried to reply to this guy with like, go please Google search this. And I was like, please don't fight with the internet.
Yeah. There's billions of stupid people out there, and I can tell you where to go find them on the internet. So.
In the comment sections of most things.
Brutal, my friend. Brutal, brutal, brutal.